All right, so here's your review video for tonight. Remember, I'm only going to go over probably a few of these problems because you should know how to work the rest of them. These are the things I want to remind you of. So these are the three that we put up in class today. Either two things equal each other, two angles add to equal 180 degrees. Those are my supplementary. Or a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's Pythagorean theorem if we're looking for sides. Remember, this only applies for right triangles. Wow, I spelled that wrong. Whew. All right, and then these two other things you might come encounter too. So like three angles in a triangle equal 180. I'm going to reference that a few times. And every once in a while you might have one angle that equals 90 because it's a right angle. Remember, that's going to apply for like rectangles, squares, or sometimes for diagonals that are perpendicular. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a few of these. I think the hardest part is for some of you is just labeling the information on the picture. So for example, here in question 2, this says angle BOA. So I just trace B to O to A, and that's why I see that this angle is 50. They want me to find TAO, that's this bottom angle right here. And so that's that two angles add to equal 180 degrees. That's going to be the property that I'm using there. All right, 3 is one that I'm really going to talk about kind of more in depth. So if we look at question 3 here, I've gone ahead and labeled the information where it belongs. So I'm going to zoom in so we can kind of focus on this. They want me to find this question mark down here, but what I'm actually going to do is show you all of what I can find here in this picture. All right, so if I know 40 is here, I know 40 is also on this other side, right? Those are vertical angles. And then these are linear pairs. So that means this part is 140, because if I subtract 40 from 180, that's going to give me these two. And now I can figure out a few of these other angles. So I noticed that this top triangle and this bottom triangle are congruent. So this 25 that's up here at B is also down here. And now I've got a triangle that I can figure out how to work it so that it can add to equal 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 140 minus 25, and that'll give me this last angle, which I believe you should be getting 15 degrees if I'm doing the math correctly in my head there. All right, so there's going to be a few others like that, but notice, remember, we're using the fact that we have two congruent triangles here. I don't have another color to highlight that in, but we've got these two congruent triangles, the one at the top and the one at the bottom, and that's how I'm figuring out this last angle down here. Question 4, if you haven't already labeled it, this is kind of what that's giving you based on that original picture. So it gives you this first part and the second part. So go back to your options and think about which one of those options is going to make the most sense based on that picture. And then you're going to solve for X. And if you solve for BA, notice B to A is this whole thing. So you're going to have to plug it in probably both places to see what it's going to add to. All right, you can check the answers for these that I'm not working in class tomorrow at the beginning before we take our test. All right, question 5. We can talk about question 5 here. So this one does tell me that this is a rectangle. So remember, a rectangle's got 90 degrees here in the corner. So that means to find this first question mark, that's going to be me working out whatever 90 minus 35 is. Which I think should give you 55, if I'm doing that right. So that's MIE, so this first one's going to be 55 degrees. And then to find this in the middle, remember, these are isosceles triangles when we talk about a rectangle. All right, so if this is 35, then this other little angle is going to be 35. And then I could do angles in a triangle, 180 minus 35 minus 35. Should give you that last angle, I'm pretty sure, is 110. Again, use a calculator to check my math because I'm doing all of this in my head right now. Question 5, the second question 5, you're probably going to be able to kind of make some sense of that, but this is a rectangle, and notice T to M is the whole thing, but S to I is just this little part. So on this one, it's not that they're necessarily equal to each other, but you could set up, so see if this makes sense to you, and we can talk about this tomorrow before your test if you want, x plus 5 plus x plus 5, so that's the two small pieces, are going to be equal to that other side. So that's equal to 3x minus 6. All right, make sure you understand why I'm setting it up that way, and then you should be able to solve and answer the question after that. All right, this question like 6 through 9, and I'm not going to do all of this. Question 6 says WEK. You should be able to look at your properties to know the angle of that measure. So think about what angles do these diagonals make when they intersect. And then remember, a rhombus has 4 congruent triangles. So this 58 is in all of these other corners as well. You don't have to write it in all of them. I'm just trying to show you. So if you think about this triangle right here, you know 2 of the angles. You know there's a right angle in the middle, and you know 58. So to find this other angle, we can do 180 minus 58 minus 90, and that should give you the last angle, which I'm pretty sure, I think that's 32. All right, so that should be that this one is 32 degrees. Question 8 and 9, I just kind of have a little sketch drawn out for you with that information labeled, which you should be able to do on your own for sure, and you should be able to answer both of those questions pretty easily. We can check those answers tomorrow, but there's no reason you shouldn't have those already like known. Question 10 and 11, I think that you can probably make sense of. My hint to you on those is that this is a square, so think about what you know about these angles up here in a square. Question 12 is, if you like draw that out based on the square, is pretty straightforward. I think you know how to set that up since it's a square. Question 13, we probably need to talk about a little bit, so I'll zoom in for us here. On question 13, they're asking for this side, and they give us that this, like, part of the diagonal is 14. So we kind of did one like this in class today. That means this other part of the diagonal is 14, and I have a right triangle. So this is Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So my A and B are the 14s, and my C is going to be that question mark that I don't know. And you should be able to work that out, but I'm just going to kind of verify what your answer is. I'm getting this, when I round it to 1 decimal place, to be 19.8 in the end. All right, so make sure you can get from here to 19.8 on your own. You will need to have work shown on your test tomorrow, especially if it's Pythagorean theorem or something you have to work out. All right, let's check the next side. Oh, good, we're at the back. All right, isosceles trapezoids up here at the top. I've gone ahead and labeled kind of some things here on what they're asking us to find. They're asking us to find these angles. So remember, isosceles trapezoids, we've got kind of some congruent things going on. If you look at this with vertical angles, you at least know that this should be 128. All right. Also, I noticed that these two triangles are the same. They look congruent to me, MES and OEU. I can find this other angle because I've got a linear pair right here. So if I do 180, and I'm making this note, linear pair, making sure you can see that, yep. 180 minus 128, that's going to give me, I think, 52 right here in the corner. So now you've got a triangle. That should help you figure out this last angle down here, 180 minus your 2 angles. And then these last 2 angles, this is because this is isosceles, it means you're going to have 2 angles the same. So these 2 angles right here are congruent. So I'm going to do 180 minus the one that I know. That gives me that 52 again. But now I need to break that 52 up. And remember, I'm talking about this bottom triangle down here. I need to break that 52 up into 2 angles, split it between these 2 right here, which should give you that bottom angle. Same way on the top. So make sure you understand, or put a star next to that if you want me to explain that more in class before you take your test. All right, so you should be able to fill out all these blanks now. All right, and then the kite here at the end, I'm only going to go over some of these. Question 18 Just make sure you can trace that, right? G, N, F, that means they're asking you about this angle right here. If you don't know that already, look at your notes, but you should be able to take a pretty good guess at that one. So 18 and 19 are the same question. I don't know why I didn't do that. Question 21 goes with question 20, so that's not really a new question either. It says FGO is 40. Now this is kind of different. So FGO, this whole thing up here is 40 degrees. And it's going to ask me what is FOG. So if I kind of zoom in, I want to show you like this triangle. So I'm looking at this triangle GON. So I know that this angle is 90 degrees. They want me to answer what is this angle up here in the top. And they told me that this whole thing right here is 40, which means this angle is 20. All right, based on that, you should be able to find that missing angle. All right, and then in question 22, it kind of extends that idea. It says OLF, that's this whole angle right here, is 86 degrees. It asks me for NLF, which is just this part of that. So I think you can probably take a pretty good guess as to what that angle is going to be. All right, and I'll just draw that out for you again. The whole thing is 86, and they're asking you for like just this part down here. Okay. Question 23 is pretty straightforward. You can get 23 right. I don't need to talk about that. You should be able to label, based on this, you should be able to label that on the picture. Question 24 is going to take just a little bit more work, and I'm probably going to have to draw that out. So it says FO, so I'm going to draw this part, is 34. LO, that's this side over here, is 19. And it asks me to find LN right here. Now I notice if it asked me for FL, that would be this part over here, that would be 19 also. I notice that this is a right triangle. And if I look just at this part of the triangle, the whole thing is 34. So I can figure out that this top part is 17. And now I hope you see that you've got Pythagorean theorem here. Notice that 19 is the C, so this is 17 squared plus x squared equals 19 squared. This is where I'm going to have to use my calculator. I'm pretty sure 17 is 289. Look at me. All right, 289 plus x squared equals, I don't know, 19. I won't even pretend to know that. 361. I'm going to subtract 289 from both sides. That gives me that x squared equals 72. And then I just need to take the square root of that. And I got a decimal. I got that x is approximately 8.5 if we round. All right, so that should be that LN distance that you need there. Okay, so make sure you have those problems that I just worked and all of the other problems finished. Put stars next to any of them that you want to ask for me to explain in person, because I can explain it a different way if you need me to, but you need to make sure you're ready to ask that before we start your tests tomorrow.